Welcome. Today I'd like to teach you a little bit about the hand-brain model, which is based on Dr. Dan Siegel's work. Dr. Siegel came up with what we call the hand-brain model, and it helps us learn about our brain by showing on our hand. And that way we can learn about the different structures of the brain and what they're responsible for and what activities the parts of the brain are responsible for, because different areas in your brain are responsible for different things. Okay, so if we have our hands stretched out, the bottom where our wrist is, that's like the part of our brain where it's at the bottom where it's our spinal cord and where the vagus nerve is. So that's the part of our brain that's responsible for feelings and nerves. And then at the bottom of our hand where our palm is, that's like our brainstem in our brain. And this is our ancient brain. This is what I call our lizard brain. This is where our autonomic system is, where we have things like we breathe and we regulate our temperature. Those are all automatic things that our autonomic system does that are instincts that we don't even have to think about. They're what helps us survive. So this is our survival brain, our lizard brain. All right, now if you have your hand open and you curve your thumb in, that's like our limbic system. Our limbic system is our animal brain. This is our response center. So this is where we have the fight, flight, or freeze. So if we get scared or if something happens, some kind of trauma happens, somebody scares us or we hear a loud noise or we think we're somehow in danger, then the limbic system, our animal brain comes into play. You can think of a barking dog, right? He's scared, so he starts barking, or maybe a bear who's scared, so they start trying to bark and growl, but then if you're more scary, they run away. So that's the limbic system. All right, now if you start closing your hand, right there where your knuckles are, that's like your cerebral cortex. Now we're starting to get into the logic part of our brain. This is the part that can make decisions. It can do problem solving even. So this is our wise mind, what we're going to call our wise mind. All right, and so then on the front of our hand, like where our tips of our fingers and from the knuckle to the fingers, that's like the front of our brain. And that's the prefrontal cortex. This is our thinking brain. This is the logic center. Some people call this the upstairs brain. And this is what's responsible for really good problem solving and really good logic and decision making and all the things that help make us rational, logical human beings. All right, so now we've talked about the parts. Let's talk about how they all work together. So you've got your brain stem down on the bottom, right? That's your autonomic system. That's doing all the things that you don't have to think about, breathing, regulating your temperature. And then you've got your amygdala. Remember your animal brain, right? That's got your emotional responses, your fight, flight, or freeze. Then on the top, you have your cerebral cortex and your prefrontal cortex, and that's doing complex decisions, and that's managing those emotions, right, that you're feeling. That's what helps you manage your emotions and control your emotions and have what we call emotional regulation, okay? You see how those fingers just curved and covered right up, covered that amygdala right up, right, and protected it because they need protection. They're scared or excited or worried. So the prefrontal cortex just covered that right up. But then if you notice if we flip our lid, right, even though we're safe and everything's covered up with the prefrontal cortex, we can flip our lid and go right back to lizard brain or animal brain because we've had something, some kind of trauma, or maybe we're just emotionally overwhelmed. It doesn't even have to be trauma. It can be maybe something, there's so much noise and people and all that that we just don't know how to respond to it, right, with our emotions. So then that's what they call flipping our lid. So if you see there, you have the brainstem, which is the lizard brain, and then the animal brain, and then it goes into the logic brain, right? Each one of them building on the other one. And then sometimes you can still go back to that lizard animal responses because we're frightened or something happened and we don't know what to do. So how do we fix it? Well, if you start to go back into animal brain or lizard brain, things you can do is start coloring, start singing music, start humming. If you hum, that helps reset your vagus nerve. If you start reading or coloring or deep breathing, things like that, then that helps touch into our prefrontal cortex and starts calming us down and helping us get more logical and helping us control those emotions and those responses and letting us know that it's okay, we're safe now. And so just when you think about things going on in your brain, even though you may not fully understand it, just know that there are things you can do to help you have that wise mind and that emotional regulation.